Have you ever thought about like what really separates people who just know a bunch of stuff from those who can actually get things done?
Wow. Yeah, that's a great question to start with.
Like what's that secret ingredient that turns like just knowing something into actually making something happen? You know what I mean?
It's really like at the heart of what makes us humans so unique, I think.
Totally. And it's something that you see everywhere, like from the pyramids of ancient Egypt to a modern operating room.
Yeah.
Like it's one thing to read about brain surgery, but it's a whole other thing to actually do it.
Right.
So how do we even start to like define this know-how thing?
Well, think about know-how like as a master recipe. Okay, so it's not just about like having information in your head.
Yeah.
It's about being able to actually use that information to like solve problems, to deal with real life situations.
I like that recipe idea.
Yeah.
So what are like the key ingredients that go into making this know-how?
Well, researchers have found 5 core components. And the first one, maybe like the most basic one, is the practical application of knowledge. It's not enough to just have facts and figures like bouncing around in your brain, right? You have to be able to apply them, to use them to create, to solve problems.
Yeah, it's the difference between like knowing the alphabet and writing a novel or understanding the laws of physics and like designing an actual skyscraper.
Yeah, exactly. Like, picture those ancient Egyptians building those incredible pyramids, They obviously had a pretty deep understanding of geometry and math,
Right.
That's knowledge. But their know-how, you see that in their ability to actually turn that knowledge into something real, something huge, something amazing.
And that same idea goes for like any field, I guess. A chef needs more than just a recipe.
Oh.
They need to understand how ingredients work together, how temperature changes things, how to tweak what they're doing based on how it's all turning out,
Absolutely. A chef's intuition, that ability to just know when a dish is perfect, that comes from years of experience from using their knowledge in a kitchen, which is a super dynamic environment.
Right. So that brings us to like the second ingredient on our recipe, which is accumulated experience. And that one feels pretty obvious. I mean, the more you do something, the better you get at it, right?
It's like learning to ride a bike. You can read all the books in the world, but nothing beats actually getting on that bike and trying to balance and steer and maybe falling a few times.
Oh, yeah.
It's by trying over and over, making mistakes, learning from them, that you develop that know-how that makes you a good bike rider.
I see. And it's not just about individual skills, right? Think about like traditions that get passed down through families for generations, things like crafts or storytelling or even just cultural customs. There's a shared element to this accumulated experience, right?
You got it.
Yeah.
Take, for example, the art of weaving. In tons of cultures, the know-how to weave these really complex patterns and designs gets passed down from parents to children to grandchildren. It's a beautiful example of how experience, knowledge, and tradition all come together to create something truly special.
Okay, so we've got knowledge put into action. We've got the importance of experience. So what's the next level? What's the next layer of this know-how recipe? What takes things up a notch?
This is where it gets really interesting, I think. The third ingredient is what we call intuitive understanding. It's like this sixth sense you develop when you've really mastered something.
Like a musician who can just feel the groove and improvise a solo, or a doctor who can just tell what's wrong with a patient even before they run any tests.
Yeah, exactly. Think about a chess grandmaster. They know the rules inside and out. They've studied tons of games and played thousands of matches, so they can kind of predict what their opponent's going to do. They can think many moves ahead and make these decisions that seem almost instinctual. That's intuitive understanding in action.
That's fascinating. So it's like this deep, almost unconscious knowledge that comes from combining knowledge and experience.
Exactly. And this intuitive element becomes even more important when we run into unexpected problems or find ourselves in new situations.
Okay.
Which brings us to our fourth ingredient.
Okay, so we've got these 3 pretty powerful things working together, right? Knowledge and action, that seasoning of experience, and a dash of intuition. But like the real test of any recipe is, does it work when you actually try to make it?
Yeah, that's a great way to put it. And this is where the fourth ingredient comes in: problem solving and adaptability.
Yeah.
Because let's be real, life almost never goes exactly as planned.
Oh, I know that better than anyone. Trust me, I'm the queen of DIY. Fails.
But I guess that's how we learn, right? By trying things out and figuring it out as we go.
Exactly. Think about those early humans, going out into uncharted territory. They had to be super resourceful, adapting to all these new places, finding food, staying safe from predators.
Yeah.
I mean, their know-how was literally a matter of life or death.
Wow. Yeah, it's amazing to think that those same problem-solving skills are still so important today, even if the things we're dealing with are different. For sure, absolutely. Like imagine a software developer, right? They're working on some code and suddenly there's a bug, this glitch that just messes everything up. It's their problem-solving know-how, that ability to think critically and creatively that helps them fix the problem and get things running smoothly again.
And that kind of adaptability, being able to adjust to new things, that's becoming more and more crucial in our world, isn't it?
Oh, absolutely, no doubt about it. The ability to learn new things, to let go of old habits, to adapt to new technologies, new ways of thinking, it's essential in every field these days.
Okay, so we've got putting knowledge into action, we've got building up experience, we've got trusting our intuition, and we've got being able to solve problems and adapt. What's the last piece of the puzzle? The final ingredient in our know-how recipe.
This one might surprise you. It's the idea of transferable skills.
Okay.
What's really cool is that know-how isn't always limited to one specific area. The skills and understanding you build in one area, they can often be used in other areas of your life that seem totally different.
Now that's something I can definitely relate to. I've always felt like the things I learn, even if they seem random at the time, they always seem to connect and become useful later on in some way.
You're totally right. Let's say you're someone who loves to tinker, taking things apart, figuring out how they work. That mechanical know-how, that understanding of systems and problem solving could be applied to so many things like fixing a leaky faucet, troubleshooting a computer issue, even putting together a piece of furniture from those instructions that never make sense.
So it's like you're building up this mental toolkit that you can use for all sorts of challenges.
That's a great way to think about it. And it's not just about practical skills either. You can take communication, for instance. Someone who's really good at communicating clearly and effectively, whether they're a teacher, a salesperson, or a therapist, they can use those same skills in so many situations, like negotiating a deal, resolving a conflict, even just having a meaningful conversation with someone they care about.
So know-how isn't just about being good at your job or mastering one specific skill. It's about this deeper ability to deal with life's challenges, to learn and grow to make things happen.
Exactly.
Yes.
And that's what makes it so relevant to all of us. We all face challenges, we all have goals we want to achieve, and we all have that potential to develop our own unique know-how recipe.
Okay, now I'm really starting to see that this know-how thing is way bigger than I thought at first. It's not just about individuals, it's woven into the fabric of society, our history, even our survival as a species.
You got it. Think about it. Every invention, every innovation, every major breakthrough in human history, it's all a testament to our collective know-how. From discovering fire to developing language to inventing the internet, it's our ability to solve problems, share knowledge, and build on the work of those who came before us that has allowed us to thrive.
So know-how, it's not just this individual thing, it's something that connects all of us.
Exactly. And one of the things that makes it so fascinating is that it's constantly changing. As we face new challenges and discover new possibilities, our collective know-how grows and adapts right along with us.
Wow, this is really mind-blowing. We've gone from pyramids to programming, from weaving to the internet, and I'm realizing that know-how isn't just some abstract concept. It's this living, breathing force that shapes our world and our own personal lives.
You're so right. And while we've been talking about the big picture, the grand scale of things, it's important to remember that know-how is just as relevant in our everyday lives.
So it's not just about building spaceships or curing diseases. It's also about knowing how to fix a flat tire or cook a delicious meal or comfort a friend who's going through a hard time.
Exactly. It's those everyday moments of know-how, those times when we use our knowledge, skills, and experience to deal with life's ups and downs that make our lives richer, more meaningful, more fulfilling.
This is all so fascinating, and it makes me wonder, is know-how something that's valued everywhere, or does it look different depending on the culture, the time period, the context, So we're back, and we've been talking about know-how, that awesome mix of knowledge and experience and intuition that helps us get things done.
And it's been quite a journey, hasn't it? I mean, we've gone from ancient pyramids to cutting-edge software. It seems like this know-how thing is everywhere we look.
It really is. And it makes me think about how know-how works in different cultures around the world. Is it something that everyone values, or does it look different depending on, where you are, what's going on?
That's a great question. And it really gets to the heart of why know-how is so interesting. You see, different cultures might have their own unique ways of doing things, their own traditions.
Yeah.
But the basic principles of know-how, they seem to go beyond borders and time periods.
So it's like a universal language, a shared human desire to solve problems and make things work.
Exactly. Every culture throughout history has had to figure out how to survive, how to adapt to their surroundings, how to pass on knowledge to the next generation.
That makes sense. I mean, whether you're talking about indigenous communities living in nature or big cities pushing the limits of technology, it's all about using know-how to
Right.
meet challenges.
Exactly.
Mm,
And while the specific skills and knowledge might be totally different, that core ability to learn from experience, to apply knowledge to real-life situations, and to adapt to change that seems to be a universal sign of human ingenuity.
It's like we're all adding to this huge, ever-growing library of know-how, right? Each of us bringing our own unique perspectives and
I
experiences.
love that analogy.
Okay.
And it brings up another important point. Know-how isn't static.
Yeah.
It's not something you either have or don't have. It's a lifelong journey of learning, growing, and evolving.
So it's not like you reach a certain age or you become an expert and then that's it. You're done.
Not at all. Think about it. We start developing know-how from the moment we're born. Learning to walk, to talk, to interact with the world, those are all early forms of know-how.
That's true. We kind of take those basic skills for granted, but they really are the foundation for everything else we learn.
And as we go through life, our know-how keeps changing. We learn new things. We face new challenges. We find new ways to use our knowledge and experience.
So it's like we're always adding to our know-how toolbox, adding new tools, sharpening old ones, figuring out which tool works best for each situation.
Exactly. And that's what makes it so exciting. There's always something new to learn, a new challenge, to take on a new way to stretch our abilities and learn more.
I'm starting to realize that know-how isn't just about what we can do. It's also about who we are and who we're becoming. It shapes our values, our sense of purpose in the world.
That's a really great point.
Yeah.
And I think it leads us to one of the most important things we've talked about today. Know-how isn't some special skill that only certain people have. It's something that everyone can have, no matter your background, your gender, your age, your culture.
It's not about being born with a special talent. It's about being curious, being willing to learn from experience, and wanting to keep growing throughout our lives.
Exactly. And as we wrap up our deep dive into know-how, I want to leave you with this thought. What areas of your life do you want to bring more know-how to? What new skills do you want to learn? What challenges are you ready to face?
That's a great question to think about because the truth is, no matter where we are in our journeys, there's always room to cultivate more know-how, to deepen our understanding, and to make a bigger impact on the world around us. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive into the world of know-how.
This is DigitView.